If you had to pick 5 mobility exercises to move great, feel great and perform great, what would they be? Those are the questions I ask myself, and today I'll be showing which exercises I picked to stay as smooth as butter until the day of reckoning comes. But first, let's address the elephant in the room. Why focus on mobility exercises? What do they have to do with living a high quality life? Well, mobility training is often overlooked, but it has a hidden superpower that can significantly impact how you feel, move and perform, both from a physical as a mental perspective. And I learned this the hard way. In my mid-20s, I truly experienced the hardest moments of my physical journey. I did a lot of partying and drinking, which I truly enjoyed, but my body felt rusty as fuck, if I can put it quite frankly. And I often thought, is this what it's supposed to feel like? Feeling super stiff and only training for the aesthetic part, which led me to also having a bad relationship with nutrition. But then everything changed. In 2019, I joined a movement facility here in Amsterdam and my body radically changed. I started focusing on a diverse palette of movements with a core focus on mobility training. And over time I got stronger, got more mobile, and I learned to move with grace and freedom. If you would let me meet my 20-year-old me, I would completely devour him today, in every way. Well, since then, you might have also heard thought leaders like Peter Attia discuss mobility in terms of its longevity and well-being. Or you have seen Niso Vitogai promoting it by defying the laws of nature with crazy sissy squats. I might have stolen some moves of him. Anyway, more and more people are realizing that having the ability to move freely and without any restrictions or pains is the key to living in the best way as you age. Think about it. Mobility exercises keep the joints lubricated, but also the muscles functioning optimally in both the mid-range as the end range. This means that you're strengthening other tissues like the tendons and the ligaments, apart from just the muscles as well. And the result is that you experience fewer aches and pains, you're less prone to get injured, and you experience an overall better performance in all aspects of life. It's enhancing how your body functions in real-world scenarios. And that, my friend, is the hidden power of mobility. And let me tell you, when you improve your mobility, you unlock a whole new level of movement freedom. You feel better, you'll gain more confidence, and your mental state even clarifies. It truly sets the foundation for living a high quality life with years to come, but more importantly, adding more life to your years. Because when you move well, you feel more empowered, whether you're in the gym or playing with your kids or grandchildren, or simply navigating everyday tasks. Mobility training is truly the hidden key to feeling good and aging well. But now it's time to show you the top 5 mobility exercises that will help you unlock this hidden superpower. Exercise 1. The handstand. The first exercise might surprise you. It's the handstand. You're probably wondering, is the handstand really a mobility exercise? Well, yes. Partially. When you're in a handstand, you need your joints to be perfectly aligned, especially at the shoulders and the rib cage for optimal efficiency. So if you have any limitations in your shoulders or your thoracic region of the spine, and you will have to use a lot more force to hold yourself upside down. That's why you see a lot of people enter this banana shape. Well, how do I know? Because I did it. Because the handstand was my arch enemy for a long time. My thoracic region was harder than cement and my shoulder flexion was even stiffer. I don't know how that's possible, but that's really what it was. Back then, I was just naive and I just did the work. But I often wondered, why is it so important to possess this mobility at shoulder level? Well, to really nail the handstand, you need to elevate your shoulder blades. And if you don't know what shoulder blades are, it's really the chicken wings that are on the back side of the body. What they do is they help support the shoulder joint in its movements. That's because the shoulder joint is one of the most movable joints in the body, along with the hip joint. But because it is very movable, it's also a bit vulnerable. And especially with the shoulder, because of its shallow shape, the scapula is there to help out. Now, if we look at the handstand position, the scapula does one thing in particular. It helps with shoulder elevation. And in order to elevate the shoulder blades need to glide away from the midline of the body and towards the sky. This is called elevation. So you also have retraction of the shoulder blades, protraction of the shoulder blades, and depression of the shoulder blades. But in this case, if you can't reach an overhead position with the shoulder, it might be because it's tight or locked in a position, and that could mean that shoulder flexion in your case is restricted. The cause can be that the latissimus is a little bit stiff or tight, ask me how I know. But it could also be that the communication between the scaps and the rib cage is not yet well developed. The good news, practicing handstands can help you improve shoulder flexibility and also strength in an elevated position. You have to work on opening the lats, extending the ribs and gaining strength in that max overhead position. So if you make the handstand a core element in your training sessions, you'll get well-functioning shoulders and scaps in return. Spoiler alert, there are many more benefits to the handstand, but I'll save that for another time. Let's move on to exercise number 2, deep squat. Next up is the deep squat, a resting position that is fundamental to improving mobility. The deep squat is seen as this ancient position in Western cultures, but in other cultures it's just simply a resting position. And I have to be honest, I worked really hard to regain that position. In my mid-20s, working on a position like the deep squat was like thinking of aliens. My first months in this position back in 2019, when I started to embark on this movement and mobility journey, I thought I would break every part of my body. Luckily, over time, the adaptation kicked in and I managed to get there. But it showed me why the deep squat is so important on many levels. It helps retain proper functioning of the lower extremity joints by compressing into flexion at the level of the hip, knee and ankle. And any limitations on a specific joint influence the whole chain. Talking about the whole chain, when you want to enter a deep squat, there is a lot going on the level of the pelvis and the femur. As you descend, the first part, which is around 0 to 60 degrees, emphasizes a bit on nutation or extension of the sacrum, giving it space to externally rotate the femur. This activates the abductor muscles, but also some parts of the glutes, and has a ripple effect on the positioning of the tibialis, which is the lower leg. Then after, from around 60 to 100 degrees, it counter-nutates again or flexes the sacrum a bit, and that signals the femur to internally rotate slightly. This is the moment where the adductors are more dominant. Additionally, this is when we reach max dorsiflexion at the level of the ankle. And then we have the bottom part where we slightly decrease the angle of the ankle and maximize external rotation at the level of the hips and the tibia. So now you understand how many pieces of the squat puzzle come into play and why it is very useful for us to train the different muscles and joint areas that are tied to specific elements of the squat. So when you improve on some elements of the squat or the squat in general, it not only builds a certain level of strength in the end range of your joints, but it also has a very important coordination effect, allowing you to research your restrictions and program accordingly. And the cool part, once you start unlocking the passive squat, you can just use it as a resting tool to chill in. Furthermore, it opens up a whole new spectrum towards moving in low gait positions. One leg squats become easier, locomoting in exciting ways will feel like flow, and you don't have to be afraid that squatting will ever become a restriction to you. In every possible way, the passive squat is an all-round mobility game changer. And that brings us to exercise number 3, front split squat. Now let's talk about the front split squat. This drill combines mobility and performance, and you're utilizing one core feature. It's a unilateral exercise, meaning that you're working one part of the body in one specific way at the time. In this case, the front leg goes into triple flexion on the level of the hip, knee and ankle, while the back leg extends at the level of the hip and knees, also sometimes on the level of the ankle. Now, why is this so important? Well, because our asymmetries are our biggest teachers. Everybody and their mother wants to eliminate their asymmetries from a physical and functioning perspective. My ankle is stiffer than the right, my left knee can flex a little bit more, yada, yada, yada. Look, I get it. Sometimes I want one side or a body part to also perform a little bit better, but you're missing the gold mine that is there. Having these asymmetries can actually help you improve your athletic performance. Why? Because it shows you where you lack a level of awareness. a deficiency in your ability to sense, because the mother of all skill is being aware. This goes for the body as well. The more you are aware, the more you can articulate and control its parts. Just like playing the game Age of Empires. First, the map is completely black, but slowly over time, you eliminate the clouds and you gain more visibility of the map. The body works the same. So use the front split squat to notice the differences in the left and right side of the body, to scan and research. Let it both be a performance and a mobility exercise, as well as a diagnostic tool. Once you have built up the capacity to access the flexion and extended positions of the joints, you'll be able to reach new heights in your athletic performance and feel much more protected in the most unforeseen scenarios in your life. I would say it's a win-win. But that brings us to exercise number 4, low bridge rotation. Moving on to one of my favorite exercises, the low bridge rotation. And this is a must for everyone who is serious about improving their overall athletic and movement performance. It combines shoulder extension, spinal rotation, hip extension, all while improving your proprioception, which is your sense of where your body is in space. For many, the latter is something very scary. We're dominantly anterior focused. Just look at the way how our eyes are positioned, which means that a lot of our aches and pains come from an underdeveloped posterior chain. So using an exercise like the low bridge rotation is super powerful. It might seem a bit demanding, but if I was able to access it, it should be able for you too. Start with easier progressions and continuously progressive overload the body to give it the appropriate stimulus, which is just fancy for saying making it a bit harder time after time. The key focus point here is to extend the different working elements more and more in your regressions. So learn to extend the shoulder a little bit more and more and more, or open up the rib cage a bit by bit, or push the hips towards the sky every time you go for it. So as you practice, you experience better shoulder health, more spinal flexibility and hip mobility. This is one of those exercises that once you've mastered it, you have completely renewed your body and brain, because you've shown yourself that you don't have to listen to your fallacies, but you can rise to your potentials. Which brings me to exercise number 5, the reverse hinge. Finally, we have the reverse hinge. And boy, oh boy, did I hate this one back in the day. I truly met my maker here. It showed me how immensely inflexible I'd become. What I'm about to say is not to be found in any research papers, but I truly believe that the reverse hinge reverses sitting. No pun intended. In our modern sedentary lifestyles, we're often stuck in this forward folded position, whether we are sitting at a desk or slouching at a couch. This means that we spend a lot of time in a flex position of the hips, but also a flex position of the thoracic region, and the shoulders are internally rotated and the neck is flexed. Flex, flex, flex. Well, the reverse hinge counteracts that by putting your body in the exact opposite position. Let's take a look. The leg that is being loaded is the one that is extended on the level of the hips, the spine, and also on the shoulders. Plus the neck gets some free rotational movement as well. Happy spine, happy time. Okay, this is a bit cringe, but it's very true. This one exercise alone has tremendous benefits on how you feel and perform. You can do this one multiple times a day and select a progression that feels slightly discomforting, but not painful. Very important. Work your way up to the hardest version step by step, because progressive overload is king. And if you can do the hardest one with ease, most of your restrictions will be resolved. And by now, you know that fewer restrictions equals more confidence, and that equals a higher quality of life. And that's a wrap on the 5 mobility exercises that I believe are the most important and effective for you. Try incorporating these into your routine, and over time you'll feel stronger, more flexible, and you move with a greater ease. Well, if you have any questions or want to learn more about these exercises, drop your questions down in the comments. Also, I have a 14-day free reset challenge that helps you take the first steps into the world of mobility. You can check it in the description below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more tips on how to move better, feel better, and perform better. Check you on the next one.